Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Are we on? I'm here in my closet. Welcome to the podcast tonight. It is July 5th, and here I am, all by myself. It turns out it's a lot harder to podcast and schedule in the summer than it is, I think, during the school year. And I would say I don't know why, but I think I know why. I mean, everyone's traveling. It's the holiday season of the summer. Kids are always home, needing to be taken places. It's currently 10 after 9, Sunday night. So you're going to be getting this in just a few hours, as fresh and as crisp off of the press as can be, as if I were almost posting or podcasting the day of. So this is hot off the press. And there's not much to report. My setup, if you're watching, is again in my closet. I've got a microphone that is hooked up to a tripod that it doesn't belong to. I have my computer set up and not a lot of battery left. I do have a big light. If you're watching, I'll show you with my camera, my little setup here. There's my big light, my computer, my tripod. And you're going to hear the plumbing behind the walls. And you're probably going to hear Xander taking a shower on the other side of the door. And you're probably going to hear dogs scratching at the door to come in. I've had a bunch of dogs this last week because of the holiday. And it's been pretty exhausting, I'm not going to lie. I'm looking forward to our trip coming in August when we are finally the ones that get to be taking the trip. I'm not sure where I'm going to send my own dogs yet, but before that, we get to go to Bear Lake. It's the one trip a year that we look forward to. It's the one trip a year that we take for the last almost 5 years. You know, we haven't been anywhere other than 2 hours away for the last 5 years. And that's totally a first world problem. And I know that. It's just makes it a little bit more difficult when you have family and friends that are traveling everywhere, you know, between cruises to Mexico, to California, to Hawaii, to everywhere, and we just stay here. It's hard with a big family. It's hard being single parented, you know, and it's hard not having any money because we can never go anywhere or do much of anything other than, you know, pay the bills by watching other dogs, which is honestly been a huge blessing. But I'm currently really working on that so that I can lessen the load. I'm doing something called digital real estate, and pray for me that I'm successful because it's kind of a shot in the dark and I'm just doing the best that I can and felt drawn to it and hoping that it works. But I hope you were able to celebrate a fun Independence Day. I know that for women trapped in family court, it's difficult to be able to celebrate any kind of independence. It's difficult to celebrate any kind of freedom, you know, when you're gagged and bound, you know. And when the court is telling you when you get to pick up your kids and when you get to spend what holiday with them, it's just a nightmare. It's a total nightmare. And if you are unfamiliar with the Utah state statute for minimum parent time, most of you, I would guess, would understand that the non-custodial parent, meaning the parent that does not have the kids the majority of the time, gets the kids every other weekend, usually starting from Friday night to Sunday evening. So it's 48 hours. And then they get one weekday or weeknight a week, usually designated as a Wednesday night, for 3 hours in the evening. And I freaking hate it. I hate it because luckily my kids are getting older, at least the ones that go with him. But when they were little, you know, super little, 4 years ago, and I'm being ordered and forced to hand them over, and coming home at 8:30 at night, I told Xander I didn't want him showering because it's so loud on the other side of this door. So he's just showering now in the other bathroom right behind me. So you can just hear water pouring through the walls. So my apologies. And my eyes are totally bloodshot. I'm averaging between 5 and 6 hours of sleep at night. So I am tired. Again, it's 9:15 at night. And don't ask me why I do this so late, but it's partly because I'm just changing my computer here so that I can actually see the time and how long I'm going, because I'm afraid my phone's going to die. And if it doesn't die, it's going to run out of storage. But, and just like that, I lost my train of thought. Oh, I do it at night because I'm not usually disturbed by Nico and Naoma or Kenya. My older kids at least know not to bother me when I'm in here, having my alone time, my time out. And it's kind of warm in here and toasty, so my cheeks are getting a little bit flushed and red. Ugh, trying to keep myself awake. But wanted to get a podcast out tonight because I know that there are some of you that are faithful and dedicated listeners, and I'm so thankful. And I'm bummed I don't have Carly tonight. She always has such great perspective and is like my right-hand woman. And I know there are things that she says that people don't agree with, and there are things that I say that people don't agree with. But at the end of the day, you know, it's a great balance. She brings perspective and an outside view, like the subjective, the subjective outlook to my story and to so many others, that it's good to have her on here, even with her strong opinions. It's one of the things I love about her is she stands for what she believes in, and she stands hard for it, and I respect that. You know, whether I agree with it or not, she holds her ground, and it was one of the things that and the thing that is so great about her is that she like does her due diligence. You know what I mean? She's not just like flying off the seat of her pants, assuming things and believing what anybody tells her. She researches and, like she said, consumes so much that she's got a good leg to stand on. She knows what she's talking about, and she was just blessed with wisdom. So I miss her tonight and hope that you'll give her grace for the times when you don't agree with her, and me for that matter, because there are plenty of things that I say and do that people find repulsive, and that's just the way life is, you know what I mean? So again, sorry if you can hear the water behind me. My teenager's probably taking his third shower of the day. But I guess today I wanted to reflect a little bit on something that I like to do that I've done like since high school. In high school and junior high, they give you these like little, what are they called? Not calendars, but they're little like books with, what are they called? Like a daily planner. That's what it's called. And so they'd have you write your, you know, as parents, we have to sign them each night for our kids. But in high school, they'd give you your little daily planner to write your like assignments for all of your classes in. And I always did something that I don't know, found insightful for me and gave me some, again, perspective on my own life. I liked to flip a few pages ahead. So like if it was October 14th, I would flip to like March 14th, several months later. And I would write like in the margin or in the column of that day, what happened on the test that you were so worried about, and what's going on with the boy that you have a crush on, and how are things with dance? Did you make that group that you auditioned for? And like, so I'll write myself little notes in there. And so by the time that I turn the page several months later, and I get to that day on March 14th or whatever day it was, I'm like, oh, there's my little notes on like, what's the aftermath, you know, what happened that I was so worried about like 5 months previous, what has now happened? And I love to see like, oh, I passed that test with flying colors, and I didn't make that team that I auditioned for, and that boy doesn't give a flying rip about me but wants another girl, like story of my life, right? So it's always really fun for me. And so throughout this journey, my mom always encouraged us to write in our journals as young girls, as young kids. By the way, do you like the lighting, or is it like shocking you? Because it's so bright. It's making it hot in here. But she always encouraged us to write in our journals. She gave us a journal when we turned 8 years old, you know, to write in our feelings and thoughts and what we would do, you know, our accomplishments. And even she would write in journals for us when we couldn't write. So, but then, you know, you get older and you don't care. And I stopped writing in a journal. I wrote in a journal my whole mission. And then I wrote in a journal when I came home from my mission. And then I kind of I'd look back at my journal and I'd see how my spirit kind of deflated. I was on this spiritual high in in the mission field, and then when I came home, I kept writing, and then I'd read my journal, a couple years later and see how I went from this spiritual high to this like low spiritual degrade because you're home from your mission. Sorry for the banging. He's turning the water off now. And so I ended up throwing like 3 years worth of a journal away because it was really raw and not in a good way. I think it's a place where I was able to write swear words because I don't say them. I think that if I allowed myself to swear, I would be a sailor. I think that would be one of my weaknesses, so I don't allow myself to, because I know that if I start, I won't be able to stop, and the words that come out of my mouth would not be pretty. So sometimes I write them because somehow it makes me feel better. I don't write the bad ones, just the mild swear words, but the things that I was writing in my journal, I was kind of disappointed in myself, and I threw that journal away. I was like, there's nothing good in this. There's nothing I want to look back on when I read this. I probably should have kept it because I could look back on how I felt at the time and how far I've come. So my point to all of this is that I love to see where I've come, how far I've come from where I've been, or maybe how far gone I've gone from where I was. I like to see my progress or lack thereof with a journal. And so I did that last night on July 4th. I don't know why on July 4th, probably because we had no fireworks. Fireworks aren't allowed in Utah right now because of all of our fires and how we've been suffocating the last few weeks. And for some reason, it was kind of more of an eerie day because there was no fireworks. There were no fireworks. It was just kind of this eerie silence. And it was a Saturday. It just wasn't the same July 4th for some reason. But I decided to flip through my journal of the last year. Or I went back to July of 2025. I don't know why, again, it's not like it's January 1st. It's not the new year or anything. But I was like, what was I doing a year ago today? And so I read back on it. And a year ago, around this time, I was awaiting for my ruling. We had gone to trial. I was awaiting to hear from the judge what he decided that the ruling was, which, again, I keep saying this, I want to talk about trial more, but I couldn't because nothing was signed. And I mean, the judge had signed it and it was a done deed, but then it was, a motion was filed to change it. And that's where we have been stuck for the last year, is modifying and reconsidering and filing a motion to appeal, and we're almost there. And once we send over our copy of the said agreement that we had in mediation, I can talk about it more, but I don't want to jinx myself. So sorry, I'm podcasting right now. So anyway, I read back on it, waiting for the judge's ruling, and I was kind of in a dark place. Surprise, surprise. But I read something that said, I never knew that life would be more difficult and worse after trial. I am so tired of looking through food bins, looking for treasures in food bins at the Greek Orthodox Church where there were, you were able to donate food. I was actually looking for food in the bins, not because I was starving, but because there were treasures there. There was Trader Joe's things and stuff from Sprouts and things like that. And so I'm sick of looking through food bins. I am so tired of watching dogs, which is hilarious because it's been a year. And at the time it said, we have watched over 33 dogs. And now we've watched over 200 freaking canines. So I just kind of had to chuckle. But I was kind of in this holding pattern, and I'm still there, but not as much. But looking back on that and seeing some of the despair and seeing how my handwriting would get worse and would get more and more sloppy, because I was so tired, and it would get sloppy because it's at the end of the night and I'm exhausted from writing. And so you'd see my hand, the handwriting drift off into totally not legible, But I talked about how I had been in arguments with family and had felt so hurt. I wrote how I had felt alone and isolated from people that I love, whether I had done that to myself or that's just what family court does to you. Like, I felt alone, you know. I had my life and decisions in the hands of a man, a complete stranger, and was broker than broke, you know, in legal debt and car troubles. Like, it just was dark. And so that leads me to this moment right now. And I'm not out of the woods yet. I'm still in it, and I'm not necessarily in the clearing in the meadow where I can frolic freely with flowers and bumblebees, but I guess I could say that the trees are not so tall and so crowded. I'm not in the thick of the forest. You know what I'm saying? I have a little bit more breathing room. Part of that is because I had so many kind donations when I had that engine failure with my car. So part of that is because the holiday's over and some of the dogs are gone. And a lot of it is because I have a ruling and the motion to reconsider is finally done, and the appeal is almost done, and the fourth mediation is almost signed and agreed upon. So it's just getting there. It's just ever so slowly. The petitioner left on August 1st of 2022, and we're a month away from being 4 years from the day he left, which is so sad. It's so sad to me. I want to be able to say, so when I wrote in my journal, last night after reading the darkness that I was in and how am I going to get out of this and what else can I apply for? I've applied for every program under the sun. Like, what can I do now? I feel like I've done everything and I'm at a loss and I have no money and I have these dogs here and my kids are suffering and I don't have money to put them into therapy, and the church is done paying for therapy because they've paid for thousands of dollars worth and they're helping me with my mortgage, but how long is that going to last? And I'm in arguments with my family who thinks that I've taken it too far, or friends, and I've been posting a lot on Instagram about what that feels like, because there's so many good moments, and sometimes that makes up for the bad, and so you stay for the good. You stay because you know and you've experienced the good, and you know He's capable of that, and so are you. And you know that you're capable of making things work, and you're 100% committed to the covenants that you've made. And so you're not going to go anywhere. You're going to fight for what you know you can have and for those moments that you've had it. So the good outweighs the bad. And even if it doesn't outweigh the bad, you still focus on the good and what you know could be. If maybe you just are better and you work harder and you bug Him less and you look prettier and you are more attractive to Him, physically and emotionally. And maybe if you stop complaining, and maybe if you would be a better wife, and give Him what He needs instead of what you think He needs. Like, follow His love language and not what you think His love language is or what yours is. Like, all of those things, it was worth fighting for. It was worth staying, because there were good times. And that's why so many women don't leave. It's because, they'll say, well, why would you put up for that? I had someone say to me, why don't you put your foot down? And I'm like, it's not that easy just to put your foot down and say, no, this is how it's going. It's my way or the highway. Because you long and you crave those good times, because it's like this big, huge dopamine hit. And when it hits hard and it's so good. And then when there's the low, the lull, the bad, it's really bad, but you try to give Him and yourself the benefit of the doubt. Oh, it's just a bad day, and all couples go through this, and you don't realize what abuse is. You don't realize how deep you are in it. You don't realize what a trauma bond is. Remember, a trauma bond is not when you're bonding over trauma. I remember Adana liking a boy whose dad had done the same thing as the petitioner. And the mom of this boy was like, it's so cute. They like trauma bond. I'm like, no, they're trauma bonding. Both of their dads have left. They're both like, have a single mom at home. And I was like, no, that's not a trauma bond. A trauma bond is not bonding over, similar trauma. A trauma bond is a trap where you are bonded to a person who is not good to you. But also there are times when they're so good to you that you're confused and you become trapped in this bond that it's like this spider's web and you can't get out. And I, for one, never would have left because I really believed in my temple covenants, and I still believe that I had made promises before God, as it says in the temple, before God, before angels, before witnesses that are there. I really took that to heart, and I still do, and I still stand by it. And so I was never going to leave, but I think I'm getting off topic here. But I guess I'm saying all of this because I wanted to focus on how far I have come. And I had sweet friends, Melanie Griffith and Casey Stewart, who did something so kind for me. And they did this like maybe 6 months after he left, maybe 9 months after he left. And they just typed me up a paper, just a simple paper. And it said things that Julie has accomplished or done since he left. She has made Christmas happen. She has started a little dog business. She had her water heater replaced, and was able to pay for it. She dumped all of his stuff, like bagged up all of his stuff, which is like a big accomplishment because it's not so much the act of doing it as it is deciding to rid your home of his belongings. Because if you're new here, when he left everything. He didn't take his clothing. This very closet had all of his clothes in it. He didn't take his merchandise. He didn't take his CDs. He didn't take his passport. He didn't take his birth certificate. He didn't take his social security card. He didn't take his certificate of naturalization. Like nothing. Complete discard. Like complete leave it all behind and start fresh. And I could not fathom that. Like I thought that at least he would come back and collect his things, but it was as if it was tainted. It was as if it was rusted. You know what I mean? I felt like rust in his mind. So just to decide, and thanks to my mom for helping me, because she came and helped me box things up. And she was like folding clothes and putting them in boxes. I'm like, what are you doing? We are not giving him these nice boxes. Like, put it in a garbage bag. And I was chucking stuff in this garbage bag. But I was like, Mom, he needs to come and pick this stuff up. And she's, was like, he never will. And I was like, you're right, he never will. Because I had asked him over and over and over again. Well, I don't have space for it. I'm like, well, you think I have space for it? I have 9 people living here with all of your crap. So they wrote on the letter that, on the paper, that I delivered all of his stuff, hand delivered, and, gave it to him and dropped it off at his brand new townhome. They wrote on there that, I was able to keep kids in their sports. They wrote that I had gotten kids into therapy and was surviving family court. And they just wrote all these accomplishments. And I was like so touched by it. Because they could see something in me that I couldn't see myself. I think we all do that. Like, think that we're good for nothing and think like we haven't done as much as maybe, or we don't give ourselves as much credit as we should. So I guess I wanted to focus for just a few minutes because I'm already almost here at 25 minutes and I'm sweating to death. But since a year ago, the ruling has come, and like I said, I'm breathing a little bit easier with some gracious funds from people who have donated to my cause. I have been able to breed puppies, sell them, and get a trip planned and purchased for my kids to go to Disneyland before Adana's a freaking adult, before she's 18. I was like, I have to do this. I have filed taxes for 4 years. I have learned so many programs on computer systems. I mean, from Go High Level to Final Cut Pro to GarageBand to podcasting to I'm learning something called Rank and Rent engine. I'm learning SEO, search engine optimization. I'm learning more about YouTube. I'm learning about was it QDRO or QRDO, like life insurance policies, and learning about retirement and things like that. And anyway, just like doing my best to do it alone. I have kept my kids in their sports. Xander has made the national, tumbling team for Team USA. We have been, rehabbing Adana's broken back. We've had an appendectomy. We've had a kidney stone, a few, I think maybe 3 or 4 ER visits. I have survived a 4-day trial, like I said, and countless motion filings. I've been able to create a group of women who are full of grit and grind, and created a community of women and mothers, protective moms, and even dads trapped in family court, trying to do right by their kids and by themselves, I have watched countless dogs who have been able to pay the bills, and I've done what it takes I've done what I've had to do to be able to survive. I was able to buy a new car. I mean, I'm paying, on the car. It's not new by any means, and I didn't pay it with cash by any means, but I got the 3rd water heater because 2 have broken. I got a new dishwasher because 2 have broken. I got a new roof because it was leaking. I have made so many new friends, and oh gosh, where have I've learned, I guess, boundaries with people or friends and family or whoever it may be that doesn't understand, what you're in unless they're in it themselves. I've learned how to help myself with the heartbreak and what will help me to be able to function better when things are hard to, I guess, cope with when things are said. I guess I'm just trying to pat myself on the back, right? Because moms are hard on themselves as it is. Mormon mothers are even harder on themselves, and Mormon mothers trapped in family court who have been estranged from their covenant marriage from their former spouse, I think just absolutely destroy themselves, and so many end up doing the unthinkable because it's so hard to cope. I just recently read that women, or people, I guess, because this is men too, that are trapped in family court, that are dealing with high conflict, abusive ex-spouses, are equal to, and I'm sure I'm going to get hate for this, but it's likened to surviving a near fatal bout of cancer. And maybe that's a terrible, terrible analogy, and I didn't make it up. I just read it, but I was like, it rang true to me because I was like, holy crap, it does. It feels unsurvivable. It feels like you'll never get out. It feels like you're trapped for a lifetime. It feels like you will never be able to make decisions for yourself or for your kids. It feels like you have no rights, like your freedoms have been taken away, like the milestones in your life, in your kids' lives are not fun anymore. They're a dread. They're a drag. Baptisms and weddings and missions and grandchildren, probably, because it's always tied to this person who has made your life a living hell. These fun and exciting milestones are not fun and exciting anymore. They're horrible, and you dread them, and you can't wait till they're over. I think that I've grown emotionally. I saw a therapist at this parade yesterday for July 4th. This is a shout out to Allie Mingram. She's not so much a therapist as she is a life coach and she does energy work, and she's a doctor of physical therapy. She has so many skills. She helped me through a lot of this the first couple of years, and I saw her, And she just was like, how are things going? And I always like to say, I'm alive. Not so much alive and well, but I'm alive. And she just starts laughing. And I said, I think that I've grown, though, Allie. I think that, 3 or 4 years ago, I was still harboring hope and wanting him to come home and wishing and missing him and having faith that all would be well and that he would come back and we'd be a family again. And don't get me wrong, there are still times where I still think about him, and of course I do, but there are times when I still miss him. Those good times, right? Because there are good times. There are times when, you think that you have the best thing going for you and this amazing relationship, but really it's a facade that doesn't last. But those were the times that you live for and that you fight for and that can come again. And so I was hoping for that and missing that. And there are still times where I miss it. I've got a kid listening on the other wall. It's time for bed. Anyway. But I said to her, but now I don't hope for his return. I don't hope for him to come home. I'm glad that he's gone. I'm glad that he did me a favor. I'm glad that I feel like I've been plucked up and placed somewhere else where another man watches over me, a heavenly man. That's what I feel like anyway. And he's not going to let me fail. Leah Moses said that to me. God did not send you to this earth to have 8 children to fail. He did not put you on this earth to fail. You will not fail. And it uplifted my soul. I remember someone saying to me, I don't know, we were talking about this whole thing, and I remember telling this person that my feelings were hurt and that I felt bad about a comment that was made. And she said to me, well, was it something that you didn't want to hear but was true, and you just didn't want to hear it even though you needed to? And I wanted to throat punch her because I just wanted to be like, how dare you? You have no idea. You have no idea what this has been like for me and for other protective mothers and fathers out there who are battling this war with literal demons, with literal Gadianton robbers, with full-blown secret combinations. You're fighting and you're up against that. And something has been offensive or hurtful to me, and you say, well, maybe it was something that you needed to hear and you just didn't want to hear it. And I understand. I can take the criticism, and I can reflect on my choices. I can reflect on things that are said to me, and I mean, believe me, I do. I look at Reddit and I'm like, oh, people are saying that I exploit kids, and people are saying that I'm addicted to turmoil. People say that I moan and complain, and I can self-reflect and be like, geez, am I like that? I guess I need to improve on my negative attitude, and I can self-reflect, but man, all I needed was a pick-me-up from this person. All I needed was, I am so sorry that whatever was said hurt your feelings. I'm so sorry. Like, that's the last thing you needed to hear when you're going through this, and you didn't need to hear it then. Whether it was true or not, you didn't need to hear it. And I'm so sorry. And a hug. A hug would have been nice, And it hurt so badly. And so for someone like Leah to say to me, God did not send you to this earth to fail. It was like, I remember delivering a baby. And remember, I like to go unmedicated. That's not to pat myself on the back, although I will, because it's freaking hard and it hurts. But I remember being in pain and almost like choosing that pain, right? Willingly, because I could have been painless, but there was something about it. And I've said it on the podcast before. There's something about holding your baby, that newborn baby, and being on the cusp of heaven and earth and feeling all of it, the pain, the heart, like the heartache, and the beauty, the stillness, the chaos, like all at once. And you're literally, it's as close to heaven as you can possibly get. And I was able to bond with my newborns better because I knew that I freaking died getting them here because it hurts so bad, So I remember doing that hard thing. And I remember the petitioner whispering in my ear, you don't have to be a hero. And I remember thinking, like, are you kidding me right now? All you have to say is you can do this. That's all you have to do is say, I know you can do this. Hang on. You're getting there. Like, keep going. That's all I needed. And it was a nurse that empowered me on my first unmedicated birth. I got to the hospital at an 8+. And she's like, do you want an epidural? And I'm like, I don't know. Do I? Because I didn't know how close I was. I didn't know that he was going to be there 5 minutes later, this baby. And none of my family members have gone unmedicated. Like, everybody that I knew had an epidural, and you kind of do what your family has done. And she said, I think you can do this. And it's why I have so much love and adoration for nurses, because she empowered me. And so if the petitioner would have just said to me, you can do this. I know that you can. Instead of, you don't need to be a hero. Like, I was so deflated from that. And I was so deflated from this person saying, well, was it something that you just didn't want to hear but needed to? I guess I would encourage people listening to, if you know of someone who is in a deep, dark battle, and I speak to myself as well, because I know I can be critical of people that I think are being pansies and, oh, you just suck it up, my 3 favorite words according to my kids. In fact, Ari went up and bore his testimony and was like, my mom, I went on a 2-mile hike with a young man, and my mom said to remember 3 words. And all the congregation, of course, is thinking that those 3 words are, I love you. And he's like, she said, suck it up. I was like, don't look at me. So I am all about tough love and being hardcore and doing hard things and being tough and bad A, So I don't want to be judgmental, but I'm sure I would have been one of those more harsh critics on the other side, of this. So I guess I'm speaking to myself as well as to all of you when I say, be compassionate and be a good listener to people that are going through something so hard, instead of being critical. For Leah to say to me, God did not send you on earth to fail. And she's right. And I would say the same to all of you who are struggling with something and who are deep in the muck. As Carly always says, like, sit in the mud with them. And that's what she's been for me. And that's what so many of you have been for me. And so to close this out, I want to say that I am thankful to all of you. And I thank God for the trial, even though I hate it. And even though it's horribly hard and lonely, and it seems like it will last forever, I've come a long way already, emotionally. I've come a long way, I think, in every way, spiritually. I think I've also come a long way with my, mental health. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if it's for good or for better. I think it's probably for worse. Because along with the good things that are happening, there's also more resentment, because I'm still in the stages of grief. It's taken me a long time, I tell you. I've been through the sadness. Well, first, sadness. I've been through the acceptance. I've been through the anger. I think I'm somewhere between anger and maybe resolve. I don't know, because there's resentment. There's bitterness and heartache, and there's hurt. And it's because the suffering is still acute. There's still acute suffering. When the petitioner seemingly seems to be fine. I know that he's not. I know that he's suffering too, but it's different when you've brought it on yourself. You know what I mean? And I don't want to sound like a broken record or like a total brat, but that's just being raw and genuine. Like, that's where I need to work. I need to work on the resentment. It's hard to work on the forgiveness when the person's not remorseful, when the person feels like he did what God asked him to do. I guess I could work on forgiving forgiving because he knows not what he does. I guess that's the only way I can look at it to make any sense of it, because he thinks that he's done what God wants, and I know that it's delusional. So I guess I could work on forgiving what he doesn't know or realize. How's that sound? Does that sound fair? Anyway, I've come a long way, and there's still so far to go, but from looking back on a year in my journal to see that the darkness that I was facing and what can I apply for and what can I do next, and to now be on this other side of that year, looking at this new opportunity to make money and hopefully be successful with, looking at the amount of dogs we've watched to get by, looking at the things I've had to repair in the house and the lessons that I've learned and the lengths that I've gone and the milestones that we've made as a family and the leaps that we've jumped and the flights that we've flown, like all the little metaphors and analogies. There have been so many, and I know there's more to come. So hopefully a year from now, next July, it will all be said and done, and I will be even better than I am now. Hopefully I'll be done watching dogs, even though I love them, and I can be supporting myself and my children on my income alone with zero help from the church, or anyone for that matter, and I can be paying it forward. And maybe I won't be there quite a year from now, and I want to assume that I will be, and I want to have all the positive vibes, and think with an abundant mindset. I kind of hate talking about scarcity and abundance because it sure is hard to talk about living in scarcity or living in abundance when things are scarce. But I am trying. I'm still here. I'm still kicking. So for any of you that are struggling, I am with you. And as Leah said to me, you were not sent here to fail. You were not sent here to be mediocre. You're much stronger than you think. You are much more capable than you're aware. Gosh, I wish I could remember one of my favorite quotes. I think I have it on my fridge. I think it says something like, God does not ask you for your ability, only your availability. And if you prove your dependability, he will increase your capability. I think I said it right. Let me say it again. God does not ask for your ability, only your availability. And if you prove your dependability, he will increase your capability. And I live by that. He doesn't care whether you can do it or not. He just asks if you're willing to. And if you prove yourself to him and you covenant with him and you keep those rules and you follow them and you keep those covenants and you follow them and you do your best and you give your all, he will increase all of your capabilities. He will magnify your talents. He will bless you because he's blessed me. And I have to give credit where it's due because it's all been because of God. It's all been because of Jesus Christ. It's all been because of my sheer willpower and grit, which is a blessing again from him. And I know that he gave that to you too. So thanks for listening to the Gritty Mamas podcast. And we'll see you next time.